And father's love. Join Jay Blaze as he hears Chubb's story about how his son and their fight against epilepsy has fueled this plant and the passion behind it. Won't you join us as we hear the story? Organically Blunt Show, a podcast that's about cannabis and the lifestyle that surrounds it, with real conversations, whether you're a novice or a professional grower. Light up and join the conversation. Let's get organically blunt. Comes to genetics, we trust Seedsman Genetics, a seed bank that has been in business for over 20 years. So head on over to Seedsman and use coupon code Organically Blunt. Popping jars, cure, store, and save your terps with TerpLock technology. Grow bags, your solution for auto curing and cannabis storage, along with customized design solutions. Make sure to use coupon code Organically Blunt at checkout. As the soil and amendments, we trust Country Roots because we like to know what we're putting in our body is organic and it is the best that can be made locally. So head on over to countryroots.com and tell them Organically Blunt sent you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Organically Blunt. I am Jay Blaze, your host, and this evening I have the pleasure and the opportunity to speak with the champion of the 2024 Autoflower Cup. Welcome to the show, Chubbs.
I appreciate you having me on, brother. I appreciate you having me on. What up, Grow Fam? How's everyone doing out there tonight?
Definitely. So, for everybody in the world that doesn't know who you are, can you kind of tell us where you're residing from tonight?
Yeah, man. I'm in Southern California, kind of born and raised. I've lived all over the United States, but mostly California, so kind of my home state. So definitely when the Autoflower Cup came to Los Angeles, I was like, all right, it's in my backyard.
Man, you can't beat that. I got a friend that lives in LA. I haven't made it out there yet, but I want to try to make it out there in November for MJ Biz. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely. So I kind of want to get into beginning your story here and kind of warm up to things by asking you, when was the first time you came across cannabis yourself and where'd you get it from?
Well, I've been a smoker, my whole life. I started smoking cannabis at probably 13, and shoot, I got it out of a brick. You used to have to get the ice pick and a hammer and start chiseling it apart, and then hope there wasn't 20 seeds that came out with it.
Definitely. I've been there. Yeah, I know how that goes. I might not look old, but I'm almost 40 myself, so, I'm feeling it. And,
yeah, same here, brother.
So, besides that, when was the first time you actually grew a plant? And along the way, we determined, as the intro stated, your son, who came into the picture, I don't know how old he is, he has epilepsy. And obviously, you're growing this plant for the reasoning of his medicine as well. So can we kind of touch on that a little bit?
Oh, most definitely. Well, I threw a couple seeds in the plant, into the ground, probably when I was in high school in my buddy's backyard, because I never had the space or anything like that. So I never got anything to flourish. It always got right before flower, and my friend's mom would find it, and I'd come home from school, and it'd be hanging over the back fence, So I'm like, oh. But fast forward, 20-something years, and yeah, like I said, my son was, I want to say he was about 6 at the time, and he'd already been diagnosed epileptic. He had seizures and stuff like that. So we went the pharmaceutical route. And I have nothing against pharmaceutical, it's more to each his own, whatever strokes different folks, so what works for you in your situation, more power to you, as long as you're happy and healthy at the end of the day, Well, definitely. In my situation, the medicine were no longer containing my son's seizures. So basically, and it was becoming toxic to his liver and his kidneys because we had to give him so much to try to keep those seizures under control. Right. So, never grown anything. I've never been a gardener or anything like that. This is about, I want to say about 8 years ago now. My wife and I, we sat there, and again, we're both smokers, both cannabis advocates. I'm all for the plant. I know it's healing properties and stuff, but never even would have thought in a lifetime that I'd be growing it, for this sort of situation. Well, we knew it worked and we knew that it could work. So it was just more or less, do you want to take that leap? Because it's scary, you know, and just like any parent, you want to do what's best for your kid. And at the
Yep.
end of the day, you know, you don't want your kid to sit there and have grand mal seizures, because that could be even worse than the medicines that you're giving them, or, you know, the pharmaceutical medicines that you're giving them. So it's a tough decision as a parent, you know. Thank God, you know, that we did, because now fast forward 7 years, you know, he's been seizure free. And that's mainly the primary reason why I grow, is for my son. You know, anything extra, people ask me, you know, hey, why do you join the cups? And I'm like, man, it's all for fun and games for me, because I'm winning before I even enter the door. My son's seizure free, you know, off of the, I mean, in my opinion, the best plant on the planet, you know, so.
That's amazing. So let's dive into, besides that, you grew the auto winning cup strain, what strain is that? Because I know not everybody's going to be familiar. So can you kind of bring us?
I grow primarily 420 fast buds, you know. Since I started growing Autoflowers, you know, and I've always stuck with 420 fast buds, just because the profiles are exactly what I'm looking for. It does what I need it to do. And I love the diversity of an Autoflower, because, you know, in a tent, you can throw multiples in there and have 5 or 6 strains going. And it generally, you know, you only got about a 20-day difference between the harvest periods. So it makes it nice to stagger it too.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
no, I grew a banana purple punch from them, and
Okay.
it's an amazing strain. I actually have it regrown in 2 different of my tents right now, and the terpene profile to the color to the taste, I mean, all in all, it's a super easy strain to grow. It went 75 days from seed to harvest, and definitely a nice yielding plant. You know, on average, I get around 2 to 3 ounces of plant. And again, I'm not trying to grow pounds. If I get over an ounce off a plant, I'm happy, because it done paid for itself and the space that it took to grow in, you know. So anything extra than that's icing on the cake.
Exactly. I got a couple fast buds germinating right now. You know, I've worked with fast bud for a few years myself now, and I love them, but I haven't really tried a whole lot of them yet. And now that I've had a few packs for a couple of years, honestly, in my collection, I'm like, oh, let's play with these, you know. And I reached out to them, and I'm like, I'm going to try playing with these. I'm going to try to do some seed to harvest videos coming up, you know. It's hard because I'm a truck driver, so I can't really always be around the plant, but I try.
Oh, I
And
feel you.
but outside of that, you know, I mean, it really, I'm growing their fast bud Blue Dream. I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna pop that. And what was the other one? RC Cherry Cola.
Both
So
are amazing strains. You know, I've actually, I'm probably one of their favorite, you know, they're my favorite breeder. I actually have every strain. I've grown every strain they've ever came out with. So if you ever have any tips or pointers you need, you know, that Blue Dream is a dream to grow it. I mean, I should say 95% of them, I don't do anything different. I have 14 of their strains going right now, and I do the same thing for every one of them. And there's not really much that you have to do to one that you don't have to do to the other, you know. They'll definitely take a beating. So I don't push it too far as training goes. I do some defoliation maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the grow, and that's about it.
wow. Now, do you, we're talking on the subject of autoflowers, when you start yours after germination, do you go directly to your final pot, or do you
Oh,
transplant?
oh yeah, of course. I do the
Okay.
shot glass method, you know, at a
Yep.
14 strains, 42 plants. I had 100% germination rate. So you can't argue
Wow.
with success, you know.
That's impressive. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, wow. Yeah, you don't normally get that. And I talk to a lot of people, you know, and they're like, "Oh, we got 98%,
You
100%."
know, and I've learned that this plant, at the end of the day, you know, people tend to take it a little too far. I'm one of them. You know, when I first started, I threw everything but the kitchen sink at it, you know, just to see what I could do and test the limits and stuff. But I've learned throughout my grows that keeping it simple is the easiest way, because fixing a problem is easier to find when there's less factors into play.
Right. I agree. Definitely. I'm going full living soil 3 by 3 bed myself now. So we're playing the organic game, and
Nice.
I have alopecia myself. So like I have autoimmune disease. I know it's not the same thing as epilepsy, but I use it for medicine myself here in Michigan, and I'm a patient, and I self-medicate. So
Oh yeah,
it's
no, trust me, I know. Like I said, I got back problems, so my wife will make me a salve, and it's got all kinds of different stuff in it. And at first, we were kind of like we'd give it out to friends and family, and they'd sit there and come back, "Hey, do you have any more? Because that stuff works great." And I'm like, I know your friends and family. You don't got to be nice. You could tell me it was shit or it's crap, whatever it was. And after about 10, 12 people kept coming back, and I'm like, well, maybe this stuff does really work for so many different reasons. And that's really what astonishes and almost intrigues me, because the medical properties and, how it touches everybody wants the end at the end of the day. They just want to be happy and healthy. And it seems like this plan is one way to get you there, because like you said, you have an autoimmune. My son has epilepsy, and for it to be able to basically go after two completely different disorders and keep it manageable and livable to where you're having a happy life, I'm telling you, it's mind blowing, man.
definitely, and that's impressive, dude, because I got a friend here in Michigan. I don't know what her son has. I can't remember off the top, but her name's Amy Carter, and she's working on a law here in the state of Michigan that's gone to Congress. It's been presented. It's called Jaden's Law. That's her son. And he was having seizures and stuff at school, and they treated him with RSO and stuff. And basically, the law currently, he could not take his medicine on school grounds.
Oh, I know 100%, man. I signed my son out of school for 4 years doing that, because you can't administer cannabis on federal grounds. So 100%, I know better than most. For 4 years of his life, I'd take him out of school every day at lunch. We'd drive around the block while I give him his pills or capsules, and he'd take his medicine. And thank God that we had a great rapport with the school, so they knew exactly what was going on, and they thanked us for breaking the future parent stigma, of parents not having to go through that. So like your friend, I know exactly what she's going through, and I'll be honest, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy, to have to do that, especially to walk into your kids' school, have to sign them out because certain stipulations and laws that are in place right now. And I guarantee it, at the end of the day, the people that are passing these laws, if it was their kid in that same situation, they'd be thinking totally different.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I can't even phantom it, but she's done so good. She's wrote a book now, and I mean, she does a lot of advocating at the Capitol, and it's like, man, she's a standout now. But the heartache she had to go through, you can relate. You guys know I can't relate because I don't know and I don't have kids, but you can relate to her story, and she can relate to yours, and it's like, man, these parents are living like this. And this is one of the episodes I'd love to have you on, a guest in the future on, if you're interested, on
anytime.
On parenting and cannabis, because I'm putting together a panel on that subject next. So I would love to have you on the show for that.
Anytime. And like I said, when I first started doing it, I think it was about a year or so into it, that my son had been taking his capsules and his tinctures, and we tried CBD. My son is also autistic, so the CBD brought out more aggressive behavior that was there. So it just didn't work. So we decided to go the THC route, and totally mellowed him out. It doesn't get him high, if that's what everyone's wondering. It's more of a, say if like you ate an edible, it just kind of basically puts your body at ease. It makes him to where he can actually compartmentalize, because I want to say for the first 4 years of my son's life, he was nonverbal. Now at 13, you'd never even know he had epilepsy or he was autistic.
That's impressive. Wow. It's just mind blowing what this plant can do. Like you said, I see it do so many things, and it's just like, wow. Yeah, I mean, me alone, I would not weigh what I weigh now if it wasn't for cannabis, which is one of the questions I normally ask, and we got to get to that subject. Everybody usually hates me for it because they get hungry, but when you get high, do you have a go-to munchie? And if so, what is it?
I've been smoking for 25 years, so I don't get the munchies per se, as like, certain strains will get me hungry, but I mean, my go-to are Hostess cupcakes. I buy them by the family size box, and I blame the kids that they eat them all. But realistically, I know it's me.
Yeah, Little Debbie's is my thing. Little Debbie's is my weakness, always has been. And then second is anything sour, them Sour Punch straws. And then we go to the third thing, which is a Reese's Fast Break. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
over. Like,
oh yeah, you can't go wrong with some Reese's Pieces.
No, not at all. So, and everybody knows that I always ask everybody on the show, hey, what is your go-to munchie? And I've heard everything from carrots to you name it, all kinds of things,
Yeah,
So,
no, it's funny. I'm one of those, I don't like change, so I usually stick to something and I stick to it for a little while. And then I get burned out on it. And it's funny because my wife was just telling me the other day, she goes, you've been on that cupcake bench for a little while. What's going to be next? Because before that, I think it was oatmeal cream pies, and then the Swiss rolls. And the list could go on and on, but it just seems like right now the Hostess cupcakes are it right now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I love them. So,
Well, it's funny you say that about weight, though, because my other son, he has severe ADHD, and for his whole life, he was very, almost on the borderline of he needing a feeding tube or so, because it was, you couldn't retain weight, nothing like that. And, for a couple of years, we put him on capsules and stuff like that. And now, you would never even know he's on the wrestling team. I mean, he's at his weight he needs to be. And again, and that's where I tell people, just because a doctor tells you this pharmaceutical med's going to work, do your research, because there may be a different thing that'll do the same thing without the harmful effects later on in life. Because I'm not against, seizure medicines that'll work for people. But what they don't tell you is that same medicine you're giving your kid at 25, it's going to look like he has cirrhosis of the liver because it attacks it, and it's like the same thing you're giving your kid to keep him alive is actually killing him inside, but you can't see that on the surface. So I just say, do your research, and at the end of the day, if cannabis is an alternative, I would definitely recommend it.
That's impressive, that the way you put that, though, because it's so true. It's just the same thing as how we discussed mental health not too long ago on the show. It's the same thing. Like, if you can't see it, does it make it okay? That's the question. And it's like, no, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it ain't there.
It took me a long time to realize that. And it finally hit a chord because, again, everyone has mental issues, somewhere along the lines in their family. And it actually hits home real close to mine, I mean, and it was one of those things. I don't get depressed. I don't understand depression. I'm kind of old school. So it was more or less, get yourself up, dust off, and move the hell on, type stuff. I'm not saying your feelings I'm not validating, but I'm just saying how mine aren't like that. So when Robin Williams, actually committed suicide, the guy was an idol to me, one of the funniest guys in the world, and he sat there, and obviously it's a real thing, whether, like you just said, whether I understand it, whether I believe in it or not, it is there. So the only thing that we can do is try not to be narrow-minded, I should say, and actually look at it from someone else's point of view.
Right, exactly. And you put it point blank. That's what I live that way every day. I know a lot of people ask me, and I'm not trying to make this about me, but a lot of people ask me, they'll be like, are you Masonic, or however you say it? And I'm like, no, I'm just me. And they're like, man, you got a lot of beliefs like them people. And I'm like, I guess it's just how I was raised. But, I believe in blue collar, and that's how I am.
Straight up, hard work pays off. I mean, at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it and the dust settles, you got your family right there. So make sure, you hold them close to you.
Exactly. So what can we see from the future from you? Are there any cups coming up your way that you're entering? Are you growing anything that we should be paying attention to? I mean,
like I say, the cup things, I don't do it for the glory or the fame or anything. I do it if they're convenient and just to get the name out, because like I said, I started growing with Fast Buds. I grow exclusively with them. So I can't say enough good things about their strains. Like I said, I just popped 14 different ones. I got probably another 15 inside already in cure buckets, so definitely diversity is the spice of life. Most of their strains are super, super, super easy to grow. I mean, any new grower all the way to an experienced grower, and I'd say just give it a shot because, you know, cannabis is like the new tomato plant. If you can think you can grow a tomato plant, which all you got to do is give it water, and at the end of the season, you'll probably get a couple tomatoes, you know? So
Right.
look at it like that, and I guarantee it, you know, I told myself on my first grow, I actually started, I think it was, what did I want to say, I think I put 20 in a 6.5 by 6.5 grow tent. And I told
Holy
myself,
shit.
out of those 20 plants, if I can grow enough to smoke a joint, I'd consider that a win. Because again,
Yeah.
I've never grown anything in my life. I've never done it. So if I can just go from seed to harvest and get a joint and smoke that and say, this is something I grew, that would be the confidence I needed for the next grow and future and so on. But, you know, it's like I tell my kids, set goals that are achievable. You know, even if you go shoot for the moon and you fail, you're still a star. At the end of the day, don't ever be afraid of failure. It's just one way it didn't work out. There's many ways to grow. There's many different mediums, soils that you can use. The hard part is finding out what works best for you and sticking with it.
Exactly. Oh, I've tried so many different ways. Some have failed and some haven't. And I'm a soil guy myself, you know. I that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you is what your preferred way of growing is, you know. But
I grow in soil as well. I've dabbled and experimented around, you know, in like DWC with the bucket and aerator and stuff. But
yeah.
where I live, you know, I'm in California, but I live at 4,000 feet in the mountains. So, I mean, my temperatures are like 20 degrees at night some nights, and it even gets colder than that. So I don't want to run a heater and all that other stuff. So soil is more forgiving for me so that I can kind of put them to the test a little bit and they get beat up a little more, you know, and not hopefully die on me.
You got similar weather to Michigan, then, you know, we got some cold. I don't know if you get snow, but that's what
I get snow. I definitely get snow. And, you know, and like I said, I grow in a grow tent in a metal outcrop building. It's nothing fancy. I use an oil heater to keep my garage hot, you know, when it's that cold. I mean, it's nothing fancy. So you don't need to go buy some extravagant grow equipment. You don't need to buy all that. You know, you find out what works best for you in your situation, and that's where you take it. You know, the sky's the limit. But I mean, as far as other cups, I mean, anything that comes my way or I hear anything, you know, I'd definitely be interested in joining because, again, I do it for the fun. So win or lose, I'm winning before I walk in the door, and it's more about experience and, you know, finding people like this that are on lives, you know, and sharing the love of the plant because at the end of the day, it's a big grow community, but it's more like family.
Yeah, it really is. And that's, I came from the automotive industry, and I can tell you it's not like that, not one bit. And this is the most forgiving, accepting, loving, look out for each other type community that I've ever been in my whole life. And I didn't know how to take it at first. And today I had a bunch of people just giving me, you know, compliments, and I'm not used to that as a person. And I didn't know how to take it, but I took it as thank you.
You know, it's funny. Last year was the first year that I ever entered a competition. I actually took second place last year, so it was back-to-back wins, you know. So if you don't think you can ever do it, you're failing right from the get-go, you know. Always believe in yourself and go for it because it's like I explained, you know, when I told, you know, I can't remember who I was talking to, but they're like, well, how do you choose what you choose to enter, you know? And I tell them, I'll be honest, you know, it's a hard question because I really love hamburgers, but, you know, the place I go to eat may not be the place you like to eat. But at the end of the day, you're going to the same other place to get a hamburger, you know? So it all depends on up to the individual. So I throw, you know, as many as I can at it and hope it's kind of like a buffet. You throw enough plates on a table, somebody's got to like something.
Good point. Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, I'm one of them variety people too. Like last year, I think I did 8 different strains outdoor. This year, I don't know how many I'm going to do. I'm still picking out what I want to do. I'm going to go with fast versions outdoors because we deal with a lot of rain come October and the mold and the PM, and I don't want that again this year. And I'm like, I'm getting done in September, and everybody else can hate me for it, you know, but whatever.
Oh, I feel you. You know, I actually, you know, I do grow photo periods. I don't grow photo periods but once a year, and it's in the outdoor season. I love to do it. But I'm not going to lie. it's a challenge. It is definitely a challenge because this last year was going to be my make it or break it season, because every year I try my best, and it's like the end of the day, I do a vegetable garden every year. I should
Me
have
too.
just went to the store and bought the couple tomatoes that I got or the couple cucumbers that I got, because it is not the same as growing cannabis for me. It just kicks my
No,
butt. And
same
it's like,
here.
what am I doing wrong? And it's like you said, it's whether it be PM or whether it be, caterpillars, or whether it be, I have pigs, they'll get into my grow, so it's like, come on, guys, something's got to give.
That's
So this
awesome.
last year, I told myself, I'm going to do it one more time. And if it doesn't work out, I'm done outdoor growing, because it's just not for me. So I bought a cheap greenhouse on Amazon. It was 10 by 20, 6.5 feet tall, and I put in 40 plants.
Holy shit.
And I'm not going to lie, I did a drip system. I'm on well water, so I did one of those sprinkler things. It was the littlest or least I've ever done, and I harvested every plant that I put in there. And I was just astonished, because I was like, go figure, you're make it or break it year. You're about ready to throw in the towel, because like you said, it's just one thing after another. And it's heartbreaking. You get them 3/4 of the way through flower and find bud rot. You're like, oh
Yeah.
man, where did you come from?
Yeah, I did 24 and I threw 8 away.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing was the 8, I won't disclose the breeder. We've had him on the show way back, but all 8 were put in 3 different locations, and they all occurred mold. And I was
Yeah.
just like, this strain is not stable for Michigan outdoors. It's just not. It's not enough resistance for mold in our atmosphere and our environment here. So
That's one of the things I do like. People ask me all the time what techniques I enjoy and what I do normally. And like I said earlier, besides the defoliation, I don't really do a whole lot besides, lollipopping, because nothing below the 4th node is really going to mature enough anyway. So you might as well take that energy and, focus it somewhere else on the plant. But
definitely.
I'm doing a cold temperature test right now. I got a 4x4 with, I think I got 15 plants in it. And it
Wow.
hasn't gone above 62 degrees, and it's gone as low as 51, because I'm not running any heat. It's just the heat from my lamp. Generally, I wouldn't do it, but I just, upgraded my other grow area. So instead of transferring them over normally like I would into the flower space, I decided, oh, you know what? I'll just start fresh. So I'll finish them in the 4x4. Not sure if it's a good idea yet. I'll let you know, hopefully come harvest season. Give it a couple weeks. But like you said, I try to push them to see what they're capable of, how far they'll really go, because I may end up growing that strain again. So why would I want to do the same experience if I know, like you said, certain cultivars or certain breeders that are just more susceptible to mold or more susceptible to pest, and it just depends on the grower. But at the same time, it all depends on the breeder and how the genetics were bred and how stable they are.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the biggest question that we want as a community here at Organically Blunt. I asked everybody this year, I said, what do you guys want us to talk about this year? It's for you guys, so I need to know. And they're like, we want to hear more breeders, and we want to hear how they're growing these plants to breed. Like what kind of soil they're using, what kind of nutrients they're using, how are they watering it, how is their heat, how is their humidity. Are they using a lot of airflow? Are they using, STS spray to make this happen? Or what kind of process is it going through? They want to know the answers to what they're getting before they pop it to determine if it's going to work for them. And I don't blame them. So I'm asking these questions so they don't have to waste the money before they order that pack of seeds from that breeder.
And I feel, again, that's way above my pay grade as far as breeding and all that stuff. I've read the Breeder's Bible and all that, and I'll be honest, I'm not interested in breeding or anything like that. I like growing, and that's probably where I'll leave it, but it's just like with food. People like to know where their food comes from. And if that makes the person you're asking uncomfortable, then I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't be buying your food to begin with. That's a topic where you should be proud. I mean, I'm talking openly proud to talk and yell about, saying this is what we do. This is why we do it this way. And this is why it's done that way. So that way growers, yourselves, and everybody else knows exactly what they're getting through. You know, it's not a, oh, you know, if I look behind this door, what am I going to find because I pushed it this far or whatnot? You know, those limits should already been tested, in my opinion. And I try to test them myself just to see how stable it is. And, you know, again, it's to each his own, but obviously my tents speak for themselves. There's nothing but Fast Buds plants in there. I love the way they work. You know, they work the way that I want them to, you know. I mean, I'll hash down the errors that I have come across, probably more to user error than bad genetics.
Definitely. Now, I think what's going to happen, and now I want you to report back to me and let me know if you can, is them plants, once they get into flower, if you leave them in that same type of temperature environment, you're going to get a lot of purple. You're going to get
in my flower tent that I'm doing that in, yeah, definitely. You know, I got 6 different Fast Bud strains. I think I got Amnesia Skittles, Strawberry Gorilla, another Banana Purple Punch, and I usually run 3 of each just because I like to see the difference in phenos if there are going to be difference, you know, and it's hard to do it with one, you know, so if you do 3, I usually do. At first I used to do 2, and then I decided, you know what, if I have the room, I might as well do 3 to see different variations. And a lot of the times you may get 1 or so on a hit or miss, you know, but generally they're pretty stable. But as far as the cold, yeah, I'm turning, you know, it's one of my favorite techniques is cold temperature manipulation, because you can turn some plants, and the colors that it brings out is absolutely mesmerizing. I mean, it reminds me of like fall, you know, you get those reds, the yellows, you know, and again, if you didn't know what you're doing, you'd think your plant was dying on you, but at the same time, in my other tent, you know, I keep it pretty steady around 70 to 72, you know. I don't really like to get it any lower than that. When the lights are off, I won't let it usually get below 68.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, them colors is where it's at. They make, it's so great for photography. It's kind of, I'm a photographer, so, and here in Michigan, we have a lot of fall colors, especially when you go, because we have 2 peninsulas. People forget that. And you go up in the northern peninsula, and the colors are like anything nobody's ever seen. And when you can get your plants to do the same thing, it's amazing. I've had them oranges, reds, yellows, you know, unfortunately browns. And but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I've even had the hairs turn pink on me, and that was only a one-time thing, but it happened. And I was just like,
the pink hairs are pretty, you know. I've had it a few different times, and I've always kind of like, hey, you know, hashed it down to maybe strain dependent, but I think it's more of the temperature manipulation. You know, you get them down to those colder temperatures, and I've also realized if you get them down to those colder temperatures later into flower, it almost boosts your trichome production because it thinks winter's coming. It's almost like the ice trick, you know, where growers will say, hey, you know what, throw a bag of ice on top of your soil a couple days before you chop. And I ain't gonna lie, I tried it. I've tried almost every technique there is out there just to see if I would get a difference. I did not, but I have noticed, you know, dropping the temperatures a little colder have actually boosted trichome production for me.
Oh yeah, you know, that's all them old, I guess you call it bro science. You know, a friend of mine, Rob from CLTV, you know, they talk about that a lot, and one of the ones they just talked about the other day had me laugh. And he said, I remember when I first started, he said, somebody convinced me on one of the message boards that you flip it in flower for 1 week, 1 to 2 weeks, and then flip it back to veg, and you'll have bigger butt. And I'm like, oh man, that ain't going to be good. You're going to have seeds too, probably. So if you like seedy weedy, go right ahead, because I'm not that way. I don't like that. But hey, if you're looking to create the same plant over and over, you won't ever have to pay for seeds. I can promise you that. So
yeah. That Rob, he's a hell of a guy. I was actually watching his podcast earlier, and I was fortunate enough to meet him at this year's BizCon. You know, he's definitely down to earth. You know, one of those guys you want to have on your side because he's about as genuine as they come.
Yes, he lives about an hour south of me, so he's not a bad guy. And then, you know, his other partner on one of his shows, Trey Strong's.
Pigeons.
No, not Pigeon.
That's the Northern Scrogger.
Yeah, I know Troy, Northern Scrogger, but this guy, he's the bigger, dark complected guy that is a chef. He's on.
I'm not even sure, brother, but.
Yeah. They got a lot of shows, dude. I can't keep up with them. Every week, I swear they're coming out with another one that I can't. I'm like, dang, you guys are doing that now? I'm like, I can't keep up. Like, I already got enough with this show, you know, and it's a lot of work that people don't see on the backside, you know, a lot of creative work and promotional work, and I don't edit things.
100%. I give you content creators mad respect, brother. Mad respect, because my wife yells at me because I got more plant pictures in there than the family pictures, and I'm not very good at photography to begin with. So 100% respect for what you guys do.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's full time and it's a passion, you know, but it's just like you're doing it for your son. It's your passion, you know, and this is my passion. This is like my son. I swear I take better care.
To me, it's almost relaxed. I shouldn't say it's almost. It is relaxing to me to be in the garden, you know, and seeing how they're doing. And I don't know. I try to find it, you know, like you hear the old saying, you find something you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. And exactly. To me, I'm one of those hyper people. I never really sit in one space for too long, so I'm always doing something. It's the one thing that I can sit in and do, and I don't even think about it. Just, you know, everything goes away, and you're just there with your plants.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest zen for me, honestly. I can't wait to get these ones growing. Like, I've got tap roots this morning, but I'm like, I want them a little bit longer before I plant them. You know, these are all autos I'm doing, call me crazy, but I'm doing 5 autoflowers in a 3x3 bed. But I'm going to try to do like a sea of green.
I give my plants 1.5 square feet each one, because again, I don't do much training. You know, I'm not LSTing them or anything to where I need a whole lot of space. So for me, you know, with 1.5 foot, I think when my 4x8, I would throw 16 plants in there. So
okay. Yeah,
it's definitely manageable, you know. And I was gonna say, you know, if yours are the ones that you're popping are fast buds, if you ever get a chance, you go onto Grow Diaries. I've done I've done diaries on almost every strain, week to week updates. So you're more than welcome to do comparisons, you know. And again, I've done it the same for so long, it's almost methodically, you know, to where it's the same for every plant. So if you look at it and you're like, okay, hey, you know what? And I do detailed logs to where I'll tell you, hey, I'm spraying this day. And, you know, every week I spray this day for IPM or whatnot. And that Blue Dream is actually an amazing strain. You're going to love it.
I use that for Tylenol, believe it or not. You know, that I don't take Tylenol because it does the opposite for me and my immune system. Tylenol and what they call anti-inflammatories.
Okay.
They do the opposite. They cause my skin to inflame, and it causes my hair to fall out. So I don't take them. So instead, I found Blue Dream was literally the first dispensary. I hate to put it that way, but the first dispensary stuff I ever bought, and that and Chocolope. Them were my first 2 strains, and I was and Grease Monkey. And I've always had a love for them ever since. But the Blue Dream has worked the best when I get a headache, because I have what they call cluster headaches that are sinus headaches. So when people get like migraines, like picture somebody that gets a lot of migraines. Well, I get a lot of sinus. Yeah, I get a lot of sinus migraines, to the point. The only thing that usually gets them to go away is sleep, but they've got me on some I didn't want to take pharmaceuticals, but the cannabis was helping, but it wasn't helping enough that if I got one, that it would alleviate it enough. So I had to go to a pharmaceutical that I take now daily, twice a day. And all it does is it expands my blood vessels in my brain and
Okay.
causes my blood pressure to lower enough that I don't get headaches because I'm so stressed and everything else. My blood pressure goes through the roof. It's crazy. It's just crazy how much stress can dictate if you don't control it. And
Oh yeah.
I,
Oh yeah. Like I said, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
anybody that's a parent or anybody that grows, or anybody that actually has day to day life, they know about stress, and then I've learned that this plant definitely helps me manage it.
yeah. Oh, yes, definitely.
But it's funny you say the blue dreams for you. I would say purple punch is like that for me
Okay.
because it's always one that hit home. I started growing with Granddaddy Purple, just because of the medicinal properties and stuff, and I've grown that. And I want to say that when I look back throughout all my grows, I've probably grown purple punch or banana purple punch or gorilla punch that I won last year with more times than probably any strain. But if you want something for, like a Tylenol, you may want to try that strawberry gorilla. That will definitely put you
Okay.
back in your seat. And it's one of those, I like the more indica, you smoke it and you just smoked it because you're put back in your chair. So it's one
Yeah,
of those, you let it run about a week late, get those 80 to 20 amber to clear, and I'm telling you, you're right on.
man, that sounds amazing. I do like the punches and the purples. My current favorite is a orange punch mimosa from Barney's Farm. That's been my favorite for about a year now. I just love the way the terps taste on that. But I've always been a wedding cake guy too, so it's kind of been that way too. I have so many I like, I'm just like a weed nerd, like I literally have to try them all. So I'm like you, I pop so many. I plan to pop, I think we're going to do 18 outdoors this year, and
Nice.
I'm allowed 24, but I do most of the trimming myself. So I had 4 that were over 17 feet last year,
Oh,
and
wow. What
I
size
don't
beds?
in ground.
Okay,
In
okay.
ground. Yep. I grow right in the ground. I have my best friend is a geologist here in Michigan. His name is Chris. He owns a company called Country Roots Soil and Amendments, and he mixes my soil up right here, and we have at it. I backfill 4x8 holes that are roughly 4x8x2. I
Okay.
backfill them, and then I just top dress and put my dry amendments in throughout the year and kind of let it do its thing like a tomato plant. And we spray for PM with lost close therapy once a week, and we don't really have a lot of problems there. It's usually
Nice.
it's usually the rain because we can't get out there. Then it sits on the plants because I don't put nothing over my plants. These are strictly outdoor sun-grown cannabis. Like that's what
That's a
we're
sight.
known.
That's a beautiful sight, a 17-footer.
Yeah. Oh, you ain't lying. It's a lot of work though. And I'm friends with like Mindo Dope and them guys, and like we all have finally agreed. We're getting to that age. Anything over 10 foot's just too much. It really is. And we're getting too old. You got to get up on the ladder, and then you're dealing with this. And if it's windy, you're trying to hold the plant, and you're trying to spray it for mold way up there, and it's a pain in the ass. So I'd rather net it out and kind of, put bamboo stakes in the ground and kind of get it spread out and kind of do some training. I think that's what we're going to do this year. I just want to kind of make it more hands-on, but at the same time, I don't want it so hands-on that I got to climb up on a ladder any more than 10 foot because
Yeah.
it's just too much. It really is. And it's fun. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It is fun to grow them trees. And it's impressive, especially when you have a stalk that literally starts to develop bark. When you can
Oh, wow.
when you can grow a plant to that stage, you're growing a tree, literally. And it's like,
So,
holy shit.
so real quick, so you do your beds, you pack them with the soil. how far do you think those roots go down? Like, do you leave the plant once it's done when you chop it, or do you pull the base out and reuse your bed the following year?
I let it decompose through winter
Oh,
and all through the year, every year.
I was just curious about the root ball on that thing. That's why I was like, I wonder if he pulls that thing out with a truck or something or what.
Nope.
But those roots got to be down, 20 feet if that plant's 17 feet tall.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
That's so awesome.
I figured probably 16 to 20 is what I estimated the roots. Me and Chris and all them guys, when we talked about it, we're like, oh yeah. And the biggest one I did like that, the one that's on my Instagram, that there's a few on there, but if you go back and you look at the one with me on the ladder, that was a 16-foot ladder, and the plant was above me. And that was
crazy.
Yeah, that was a wedding cake from Barney's farm, and I actually had it imported from the UK. Like, it came through customs and came in a Lego kit, and like, it was crazy. But I grew it indoors, started it in February or March, and I grew it indoor and got it to like 2 foot, 3 foot, and then I had these were one of the Amazon special grow bags, because I didn't know about any brands. I'm very small town. I'm very boondocks, kind of like you put it, very boondocks. And like one blinking light town is the town I come from. And
hey, that's more. That's one more than I got. We don't have city lights. I don't have signal lights. I think there might be a couple stop signs, and that's about it.
Yep. And my town's an Amish agricultural horticulture town. And so, like, it's not a big deal, but we get everything local. But these plants were so big, like I had to put a motorhome in front of my grow, and you could still see the top cola blowing, and it was not good. Like, I was nervous, but it was legal. It was just, I was nervous. My biggest thing was what we call snatchers. We didn't want to get no snatchers in here. And I've never had it, knock on wood, but now there's only 2 people that know where my grow is, and that's me and my partner. So, like, if it comes up missing, I know he took it, and I know I didn't take it, because it's on farmland that I lease from him, and I give him I lease it as a payment of half. So nice. I split everything, and he lets me use his well water, so that costs something. So it all works out for us,
Oh yeah, it's not about what you know in this world, it's who you know, and I'm a firm believer in that barter system. I love it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I work here, and that's how I've gotten to where I am now. We're not the biggest channel, but we're approaching 50,000 views. That's 50,000 people that have watched these videos and that hear stories such as yours. That's why one of the questions, and you answered it, but one of the questions that I want to ask you, because you are a champion, even though you might not consider yourself, is what piece of advice, if you could give any to a new grower, would you give them? And
if I'm entered to the competition, I would not join. No, I'm just playing. No, again, never growing anything ever in my life, my biggest advice would be, if you're going to try it and start it, don't make an unachievable goal and just crush your confidence, because you would probably never go back to it ever again. And that's why I said, when I started, I had 20 plants. I told myself, if I could get it to grow one joint out of 20 plants. Every time I tell people, they're like, dude, that's a joke. And I'm like, yeah, maybe to you, but to me, it was my main deal. I did not want to sit there and be like, well, I want an ounce out of every plant, or, because again, at the end of the day, on your first grow, if you have a goal and you achieve it, the next time you're probably going to make that goal a little bit more difficult. And you do that every time. And, as time goes on, you become the grower you are today.
Definitely. Yeah. And then you get to join a community that, like I said, I thank you guys more and more every day. I support all of you guys, and I hope that you guys support me, and I appreciate you coming on this show. And I have one more question.
Anytime, brother. And like I said, I'm not here for the fame and all that. And that's why when anybody asks me, hey, you want to be on, and I'm a firm believer to break the stigma that cannabis is medicine, you know, because I'd hate to have parents go through what I went through, like we talked about, you know, where you have to sign your kid out of school and this and that. We need to make it to where, you know, it's 100% legal. People understand the medicinal properties of it, you know, and it's treated as normal, because in my house, it is normal. There is nothing wrong with cannabis, nothing at all.
Exactly. Like I said, and it's a few weeks out. It might not be until March. I'm not sure, you know, but I want to have you come on for that conversation because
Most definitely.
A panel.
Depending on when in March, like I said, I may or may not be available. I'm actually going to be trying to hopefully attend Spanibus this year, so we'll see.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I got a lot of friends that are going to be there, and if you get to meet Fang, that he's a friend of mine. I've met him a couple times out here. So
nice, most definitely. Yeah, nothing set in stone. Like I said, I don't have I've never had a passport or a will to want to even go out of the country, but I applied, you know, and like I said, I'm waiting for them in the mail. They hopefully should be here by next week. So if all goes well, we'll check it out this year, you know, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, you know, not even just experience it as a whole, because it's a once in a lifetime experience.
Oh, definitely. A friend of mine, he goes to all of them. His name is Judge Strains. He's a judge, cannabis judge. And he's going to be out there. And I just was talking to him at the last event last week. And I asked him, I said, you know, not to get personal, I said, but to get personal, I want to know, what does a trip like that cost? What did it cost you last year? And he's like, you ain't going to believe it. I said, no, I want to believe it. Tell me so I know what to save. And he's like, because I struggle, you know, I'm not financially set. I'll be honest. And I asked him, and he said $1,200. And I said, no shit. I said, I think I could do that, you know, maybe not this year, but next year I could save up throughout the year. That's $100 a month. And then when it comes around, I'm out of town in a different country. The only thing is that I've never flown and I don't really want to, but I think I would for something like that. Just,
you know, I haven't flown on an airplane since I was my kids' age, you know, probably maybe 12, 13, you know? So wow. I'm talking probably 25 years ago now, you know. I mean, to me, I'm a smoker, so I've always limited my vacations to where I can bring it, you know, so I've never really wanted to travel on a plane out of the country. Although I got a motorhome, so, you know, I'll load that thing up and we'll travel.
Exactly.
But now that it's becoming the way it is worldwide, you know, and a lot more accessible, people are making it to where it's more freely open. Makes me want to do that, you know, makes me want to attend these events, because therefore, you know, you're able to get the meds that you want, you know, or that you need, because again, I'm not a drinker. I'm a smoker. I have been since an early age. So if I go to another country, I'd like to be able to at least walk into a shop and get a little bit. So when I go to sleep at night, you know, I could smoke a joint or two.
Right. Yeah. That's like my buddy, Mr. Fungi. He's on Instagram. He took a doob tube and hid one of the, hid a pre-roll that he made himself under a rock outside of the O'Hare Airport in Ohio, which is the world's biggest airport, or at least the United States' biggest airport, I think. And, went to MJ Biz and said, this will be for when I get back off the plane. Got off and went and showed him video, and he went to the rock he hit it under when he left, the same one he showed us, and it was there. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's smart as hell. And he's like, yeah, that way I didn't even have to have it prepared. It was waiting for me. And I'm like, that's genius. You know?
Oh, yeah, most definitely, you know, so... Might have to do something like that, you know.
Right, exactly. But I got one famous question that I want to end this note on before I let you go for the night. We've been here.
What you got, brother?
And that is, if you could smoke with anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why? And I want the first thought that pops in your head.
I ain't gonna lie, you know, I smoke I smoke. I mean, it's my thing. So I think I'd like to smoke with Snoop Dogg.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, he likes to smoke blunts. I'm always smoking blunts, you know, and I think realistically, if he ever wanted to smoke one with me, I'd be more than happy to smoke it'd be a session to remember. That's for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, it would be the only thing about him that I know is he don't pass it if you pass it to him. So you better consider it gone after
No,
that.
that's why I figured, if we're gonna smoke, well, I'll roll his blunt, I roll mine, or actually, I don't roll them. My wife does, so I got to give her the credit where it's due. More
Sure.
spots than not. Let me tell you, because behind any strong man, there's an even stronger woman. Because I
Always.
grow it, and she actually makes the meds, so it kind of makes it a lot easier. So that way, I don't got to focus all on everything, and I can just focus on the growing. But yeah, she rolls all my blunts. I'm truly blessed.
Hey, I know how that is. At least I did when I was married. I'm not married anymore, but I'll tell you that I will give my wife, at least my ex-wife, credit. Put it that way. Uh, she knew how to roll a blunt. It's a woman thing. I don't know how, but they make them perfect, and it's like, damn, okay, this is good. Like
Yeah, it
I
might
could
come out looking like the Hindenburg blimp. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? and you got
exactly.
and you got patches like 3 different spots because you forgot to take out the stems or all of them at least.
Yeah, I've been there. I use the Wocket grinder. You should pick one up if you don't have one. And that's just a seamless plug. They're not sponsored. We're not sponsored, but literally I collect grinders and I have
Okay.
like 50 of them on a shelf right here.
Well, see, my
And
problem is they clog up too fast, and then I'm stuck putting them in a bowl of alcohol. So I've kind of
yeah,
come to the conclusion, a little coffee grinder, a miniature coffee grinder work great because they can take out a coffee bean, it'll grind up my weed.
yeah, this thing uses like them ball keychain like thing in there. That's the only way I can explain it. And you push down on it, it's USB-C rechargeable. It's pretty cool and it lights up and shit. But I probably haven't charged that thing since I've got it, and it's been over a year now, and I use it all day, every day. That's how good the
All right.
battery is.
All right,
Yeah,
most definitely. I'll have to take you up on that, I'll have to check them
right.
out.
And it spins, and it literally like 1 second is like a coarse grind, 2 seconds is a little finer. If you hold it any longer than that, you can literally turn it to dust. And but the
Yeah, I'm
cool
going to
thing
put it in my tea bag.
Right, but the cool thing is it's like I don't know how it does it, but it separates the flower from the stems. The
Oh,
next thing you
wow.
know, yeah, you'll have a pile of stems in there, and then you just kind of brush it away with your fingertip or whatever you want to use.
Okay.
And take your stems out right there, and you have nothing but a pile of flower. And I only smoke raw cones. That's just my thing. And I pack. I have a slider like a cigarette thing, but I don't use it that way because I have so much resin and keef and stuff built up over the years. I just use it like a trough, and I pack it down through the trough into the cone. That's how I do mine. And so I like it kind of fine, but not too fine. And I pack mine literally like as tight as you would a cigarette. That's how I like it. And it has to be like that tight. And this
Oh,
grinder is the best. I mean,
I
literally.
feel you. I smoke the same blunt wraps. I buy them by the box. So
Yeah,
100% I know how you're saying it.
exactly. It's my brand. I mean, I've tried other ones, and I only do two brands myself, and that's King Palm and Raw. But hey,
Okay.
I've tried a lot, and I can taste the bleach in a lot of papers. Now, before I had alopecia, which during getting that, I developed an allergic reaction to nicotine. So I can't smoke my favorite, which was the white grape white owls. I smoked
Okay.
them for years. And now if I smoke it, I break out in a hive. So it's like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So like that's the reason I don't smoke with anybody myself is because I can't trust if there's tobacco in it or
Have you ever tried
nicotine.
those clear papers? What is it called? Cellulose or something like that? I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly the
Yeah.
medical name or technical name of it, but those are pretty interesting.
Yeah, I didn't like them. I'm
Yeah.
straight. I'm like, you're talking to a guy that smoked 3 packs of Marlboro Reds when he used to smoke cigarettes a day. And it's been 17 years since I've had a cigarette. But yeah, I like the strong stuff. I've always gone for the gas, I guess you'd call it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Now I'm liking the fruity shit, and I hate to put it that way. It's like, okay, I need something with flavor now. So same thing when it's my smoking. Like I used to be all gas. Now I kind of let my foot off the brake, and it's like, what do I like? I like the fruity stuff. And I guess that would be a question I'd ask you. What do you prefer terpene wise?
Like I said, I mean, I prefer those gassy strains, but again, people ask me, oh, hey, what's your favorite one? And it's not that I'm biased or anything. I've grown every one of them. And I tell them, what my favorite one is? The one I have going in my tent right now. I mean, it just happens to be, one day, like you said, you like the sweet stuff, or one day you may want that fruitiness, or one day you want that spice or the earthiness, so it all really depends. And that's another reason why I grow autos, because you can have multiple strains, harvested, and you get the best of all worlds.
Exactly. Well, where can everybody find you at? Do you have anything coming up, or is there going to be any other events other than Spannabis between now and then that maybe somebody local can spot you at, or anything like that?
We'll see. Nothing set in stone. I know Davadoo and the Emerald Cup are going to be coming up, actually up over there in Michigan. So, you never know. I might have to pop up or something. So we may see. I'll definitely be at BizCon again this year. I mean, most of the time, I'm on Instagram at Chubbskas. So I always post weekly updates on all my grows. I mean, if anybody ever has a question, never hesitate to ask, because like I tell people, I'm no professional by any means. I don't consider myself a professional, but I've come across myself or my fair share of mistakes myself. So, and a lot of those mistakes or issues you have are usually easy to fix. So if you ever have questions on anything, never hesitate to ask.
Definitely.
The wrong question to ask was the question not asked to begin with. You know what I mean? So you don't know until you ask. It's like I tell my kids, when I used to ask for raises, I'd rather ask and get told no than wonder, and it could have been a yeah.
Exactly. And that's, my grandpa taught me the same thing, and we'll end on this note, and that was, he always used to tell me that no dumb question is a dumb question. The only dumb question is the dumb question you didn't ask. And
Exactly. 100%. That sounds like a hell of a wise man.
Oh, he was. He very much was. And he's the reason that we started the show. We're living his legacy. So with that being said, we appreciate you coming on the Organically Blunt Show. If you ever have anything going on and want to share it with the community, just hit me up in the DM and we'll get you back on the air. So with that being said, you enjoy the rest of the evening with your family, and thank you for coming on the Organically Blunt Show. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
As we close this chapter of Organically Blunt, immense gratitude to our exceptional partners who fuel our growth journey. Seedsman Genetics, the seasoned seed bank with over 2 decades of experience. Grow Bag, your trusted storage solution to protect terps. Gorilla Grow Tent, crafting spaces for cultivating dreams. Kind LEDs, illuminating your green haven. Country Roots Soil and Amendments, nurturing roots for success. Atlas Seeds, a source of pure genetic treasures. Green Wolf Genetics, creators of botanic magic. Smoke and Stork Genetics, where passion meets potency. Humboldt Seed Company, committed to cultivating excellence. Extreme Gardening, elevating your gardening game. Rain Science Grow Bags, redefining plants' homes. 420 Fast Buds, pioneers of fast and furious growth. Captain Redbeard Seeds, sailing the seas of genetic innovation. Aero Mixer, the rheumatic heartbeat of your grow. Petra Tools, your trusted garden companions. SoFem Genetics, sowing seeds of FEMS and Build-A-Soil, building the foundation of your organic oasis. Lost Close Plant Therapy, healing and enhancing plant vitality. Unlock these exclusive deals with coupon code Organically Blunt at checkout. Until our next episode, stay connected and keep growing, and as always, stay organically blunt.